we have the 11-5 Cleveland Browns traveling on the road to Heinz Field to take on the 12-4 AFC North champions, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, this is the Cleveland Browns' first playoff game since 2002, so it has been 18 years since we last saw the Cleveland Browns participate in the playoff game. And what is ironic is the last time the Cleveland Browns did play in the playoff game prior to this season, back in 2002, they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers 36-33 back in 2002. Now, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you lost to the Browns last week 24-22 because you pretty much rested the majority of your starters. You rested Big Ben, TJ Watt, Terrell Edmonds. You gave the majority of your starters a chance to get healthy and get refreshed heading into this wild card game. Meanwhile, Cleveland, they won against Pittsburgh, which is their pretty much one of their biggest wins in franchise history, in my opinion. Because you may be like, JT, how is Cleveland beating Pittsburgh's backups one of their biggest wins in franchise history? Well, this is the win that clinched their playoff spot for the first time in 18 years. Now, for Pittsburgh, it seems like offensive coordinator Randy Fichtner has just found out that you can call pass plays for more than just 5 yards, that there's more than football than just throwing 5-yard digs and 5-yard drag routes and 5-yard slant routes and not routes all game. You can actually throw the football downfield. And it's sad that I believe that if Indianapolis was never blowing out the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into halftime, I think the Steelers offense would not have changed. I think Randy Fichtner would still keep trying with the old conservative, throw the football behind the line of scrimmage with bubble screens, or just throw the ball to a wide receiver on a slant power, on a slant route for 3 yards and things like that. So that Indianapolis game after the second half really forced Pittsburgh to start taking more shots down the field, which is good because you look at Pittsburgh, Chase Claypool is now starting to get re-involved back in the offense. He has been pretty relevant for over the last month and a half prior to that Indianapolis Colts game. Don't know where he's been. Deontay Johnson has finally remembered how to catch a football. Juju Smith-Schuster is making plays as well. So the Steelers, even though they did have their struggles in the month of December, at one point losing 3 games in a row, lost to Washington on Thanksgiving. You got embarrassed by Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. So you also lost the Buffalo Bills as well. So for Pittsburgh, now it starts to look like that this team is now starting to turn things around, and they're doing that at one of the most important times of the year, the NFL playoffs. Meanwhile, for the Cleveland Browns, my question is going to be, can the Pittsburgh Steelers force Baker Mayfield to step up, make plays, and win the game for Cleveland? Because let's face it, the Cleveland Browns are a run-first football team. That's what Kevin Stefanski brought over from Minnesota last year, that power run system, running the football down teams' throats. Well, what's going to happen if Pittsburgh is able to find a way to stop the run? Because if I'm Pittsburgh and I'm Mike Tomlin, my game plan on the defense side of football, I'm going all in to stop Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. If the Browns are going to beat me, it's going to be because Baker Mayfield has a career day in his first ever postseason matchup. So I'm going to go all in on stop the run. I'm going to play Terrell Edmonds close near the line of scrimmage. I'm going to have him in the box to help out with numbers to try to stop that Cleveland Browns rushing attack with Nick Chubb, who has been going on an absolute tear over the last month of December heading into January. Kind of reminds me on the run that Derrick Henry went on last year in 2019. So if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going all in on trying to stop the run game. I am not going to allow Cleveland to run the ball for 200, 175 rushing yards down my throat. And for Pittsburgh, there are 2 ways that they can stop the run. The first way they can stop the run is by getting out to a big lead early, because then if Cleveland is down 21-0 at the end of the first quarter, they're going to have no choice but to throw the football to get back into the game, because you can't really run the football because time is not going to be on your side. So if Pittsburgh gets out to a big lead early, that can force Cleveland to have to abandon the run game. Another way is by just simply winning up front. You have the guys to do it. You got Cam Hayward. You got Stephon Tuitt. You got TJ Watt. You got to be able to stop the run. Now, at one point, Pittsburgh had the best run defense in the NFL, but after their first meeting with the Baltimore Ravens, this run defense hasn't really been all that great. Now you're going against the Cleveland Browns. You're going to have to be able to stop this run game, because if you stop the run game, then you have a 70% chance of winning the game, because I don't trust Baker Mayfield to simply be able to carry the Cleveland Browns to a victory, because Baker Mayfield, even though he has been pretty good this year, he has been pretty solid. If you do have to ask Baker Mayfield to win the game for you throwing the ball 40, 45 times, 35 times, I don't really think that's the situation that Kevin Stefanski wants to be in. Another thing is going to be, will the Steelers' inability to run the football cost them this game? Now, the Steelers haven't had a pulse when it comes to being able to run the football since God knows when. I think the last time the Steelers had a 100-yard rusher was what? Like, I can't even remember. Somebody let me know down in the comment section down below. But Pittsburgh's lack of a run game, is that going to be their Achilles heel against the Cleveland Browns? Now, for Cleveland, a good thing is that you don't have to really worry about the run game. So these pass rushers, well, really, Myles Garrett can just tee off and just focus on, going all in, trying to get pressure on Big Ben. Another thing is going to be, who will be able to score inside the red zone? This is a matchup of two of the best red zone offenses and the red zone defense. The Cleveland Browns have one of the best red zone offenses in the NFL. They're third in the NFL in red zone scoring percentage. They score touchdowns in the red zone 73% of the time. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Steelers have one of the best red zone defenses in the NFL. They only allow opposing teams to score touchdowns inside the red zone 55% of the time. Now, when you look at the Steelers' red zone offense, their red zone offense is 11th in the NFL. They score touchdowns in the red zone 63% of the time, which they could be a lot better, but for the fact that they're not really all that great running the football, it's a big reason why they're not better than what they are right now in terms of being able to convert and score touchdowns inside the red zone. The Cleveland Browns' red zone defense is pretty solid. They allow teams to score touchdowns in the red zone 60% of the time, which is 14th in the NFL. So I think that whoever is able to have more success in the red zone is going to be a big deciding factor in who's going to win this game. But more importantly, if Cleveland is able to run the football and they're able to control time possession, they're able to keep Pittsburgh's offense off the field, and they can tire out that Pittsburgh Steelers defense, then the Cleveland Browns do have a pretty good shot at winning this game. I'm really interested to see what the Browns do. I want to see what Baker Mayfield is going to do in his first ever playoff game and the playoff atmosphere, because playoff football is a lot different from regular season football. We've seen guys like Lamar Jackson struggle. He's 0-2 in his first couple of playoff games. So I want to see what Baker Mayfield is going to do in his first ever playoff game. Now, Cleveland is starting to get back fully healthy. Denzel Ward, I think he should be able to play in this game. They lost Olivier Vernon to a season-ending injury, so their second best pass rusher on the team, he's out. So now it's just Myles Garrett and everybody else. So for Cleveland, if you're able to, make sure that you're not allowing big plays in the passing game for Pittsburgh, I think what Pittsburgh does very well when they are taking shots down the field and they're not being captain conservative with their play calling, they're really good. And one thing that I noticed about Pittsburgh is that they draw a lot of pass interference penalties when they throw the ball downfield. So with Cleveland, if you're able to limit the big passing plays and you don't give up a lot of pass interference calls, then you're going to have a pretty good shot of slowing down the Steelers' offense, because the Steelers can't run the football. So you really are only just game planning to stop the pass. Pretty much the Steelers' way of running the football is by throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage and letting the wide receivers do the work with the ball in their hands. So for Cleveland, the game plan is pretty simple. Get pressure on Big Ben and stop the pass, because the Pittsburgh Steelers run game hasn't been effective all year, and I doubt that it's going to be effective come playoff time. Like, they're just going to magically be able to flip the script, and all of a sudden they're going to be able to start running the football with some success. And for Pittsburgh, if you're a Steeler fan, you want this team to be able to find some way to run the football, because in the playoffs, it is really important that you have a run game. The teams that go the furthest in the playoffs and make big playoff runs are the teams that are able to effectively run the football. And I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to have much success and have a big postseason run and be able to win their 7th Super Bowl if they can't find a way to run the football with some success. So I don't know who's going to be the guy at halfback for Pittsburgh. They've been rotating starters in all year. One game it was Benny Snell. One game it was James Conner. One game was Anthony McFarland who was getting the stop. So they're not really having a lot of success in determining who is that lead back on the roster. They don't really have a number one back, so it's going to be decided when it comes to Steelers being able to have a run game. But I'm not really expecting the Steelers to have a run game in this game. But I still think that the Steelers are going to be able to pull off the victory in this game. I think that their defense should be a big reason why they win this game. This defense should be fully healthy, to the point that, you know, they're fully rested. Yeah, they have some big injuries and guys who are still out for the season like Devin Bush. That's still a pretty big blow as well. But the fact that this defense and this whole entire team as a whole was able to bench their starters and get them some key rest was much needed. Because people forget that the Steelers haven't had a bye week since what? Week 4, because remember, the matchup against Tennessee got switched, so Pittsburgh ended up having that Week